You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
So we do the show on Thursday, and then all hell breaks loose Friday and Saturday and Sunday. And I was sitting there trying to think of what I should do for the topic on Tuesday. And I realized there was so much news to cover. We really don't need a topic. We just need to talk about this stuff. So that's what we're doing today. We're covering all the news. We're covering the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, and I'll answer any questions you guys have got about it, and we'll make our way through catching up on the last few days. And at the end, I'll throw in some key comic for you guys to look at. So, well, hell, let's get this thing rolling. Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show.
I'm wildly out of practice. I apologize, Dan.
That's what. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show. It is Tuesday, March 28th, and we've got a ton of news to cover. Hello to everybody here already. Cool, Canonus, Triple B, Ed. Good to see you guys. We have Kyle on the board today. Jay is off, so Kyle is sitting in today. And of course, right after this, Kyle will be on air with me as we do in stores this week, which will then be followed by Minute to Skim It and Mint Hunter is our lineup for today. So you'll want to stick around for all that. Country Road Comics, which normally airs at the end of Tuesdays, is currently on hiatus and is kind of being reworked and because he's moving to Sundays. So he'll be our new show on Sunday. So, so it's just our 4 shows tonight. So stick around for all of them. Now we're going to just jump into the news. Like I said, we got a ton of news. So if you got any questions on the different stories, ask me as we go along, and I will answer as best I can. And we're going to start with some of the good news because there are 2 topics that are really big and very detailed, and I want to save those for the end. So we're going to start off with some good news, or at least some later news. Lawrence Fishburne is going to return to the MCU. He's going to be, but it's not live action, he's going to be voicing the character of Bill Foster in What If Season 2. But it's going to be more than just as Bill Foster. He's also going to be Goliath. Now, all of this came about because Lawrence was being interviewed for John Wick Season 4 and was asked about why his character of Bill Foster didn't return for Quantumania, which I think is kind of a dumb question because if you've seen the movie, you know it was a very insular, very family movie. It didn't really go to the outlying characters. But that question aside, it got a good answer. So the actor confirmed that he will be voicing Foster in the upcoming episode of What If Season 2, and he will be taking on the moniker of Goliath. Now, in his previous appearance, Foster admitted that he had used the Pym particles to grow before, where he and Scott Lang kind of compare how tall they'd gotten. Bill Foster in the comics started off, first he was just a scientist that Tony Stark hired to help Hank Pym because Pym had been stuck at 10 feet tall. So he was around for a little while, and then that was in the 60s. In the 70s, they brought him back, and they had him starting to use the particles to grow and take on the name of Black Goliath. Now, Black Goliath got his own comic series for 5 issues in the 70s. He would later then take the name Giant Man and then eventually just Goliath. And his character was a crucial part of the comic book version of Civil War. It was his death that ended up being the catalyst for many heroes to change sides and switch over to Captain America's side, which then led to the end of the conflict. Ed says Fishburne was in the MCU before. I knew he was the voice of Silver Surfer, but I thought that counted as MCU. Fishburne played in Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second movie in the franchise, as an old friend, co-worker of Hank Pym's. They definitely weren't friends, and he was helping the antagonist of Ghost in the movie, and he was playing Bill Foster. So yeah, he was in the live action. All right, so that's our news, but yeah, you know when there's a scene where they sneak on campus and they're wearing baseball caps, and Scott's like, these aren't disguises. And there's also the part where he says, do you guys just throw quantum in front of everything? That was the scene, and that's where Lawrence Fishburne is. Another person returning to the MCU, and this one has been going much longer, is Liv Tyler. Liv Tyler is returning as Betty Ross in Captain America New World Order, or as many people are calling it now, Incredible Hulk Part 2. And that's because it seems to be kind of the spiritual sequel to the 2008 film, because you have Tyler returning as Ross, and the fact that Harrison Ford is taking over the role, we are going to have Thunderbolt Ross, a character that started in the 2008 Hulk series, originally played by William Hurt, but of course William Hurt passed away a few years ago. So also Tim Blake Nelson is returning as Samuel Stearns, who we see in there getting affected by the radiation in 2008 that would eventually turn him into the leader. And Tim Roth has already been back as Emil Blonsky, as the Abomination. So there's nothing that says that Blonsky and maybe even Mark Ruffalo will end up showing up in the movie too, as Bruce Banner. So this could be a new, basically a follow-up to the Hulk. And and while some believe that, there is a comic story, New World Order. It's an evil group started by Red Skull. A lot of people seem to think that title might be a misdirect, and they're using as a storyline for the Gamma World story, which has the leader basically trying to turn everyone into gamma monsters. And this might also be the start of a storyline that would then continue into Thunderbolts. So it's a lot of speculation going on right now, but that's what happens. Also, to confirm Tyler's appearance in the movie, set photos popped up today showing her and Anthony Mackie in what appears to be a funeral scene, with both of them dressed in black and Mackie wearing a sling. So something bad happens. All right, Kyle asked, does Liv's appearance in Hulk 2 make Steven Tyler a Disney princess? No, doesn't work that way. It would make Liv Tyler a Disney princess, but Steven Tyler has to be in the movie to be a princess. Okay, moving on. Daredevil Born Again has added to the cast again. This time, Artie Frauchen from Carnival Row, and they may be doing the Mayor Fisk storyline. Frauchen is said to have a major role in the series, and we've seen in set photos him with D'Onofrio, looking a lot more Kingpin-like and a lot less that Hawaiian shirt look he had in Hawkeye. Now, while details of the characters are still being kept quiet, he's believed to be playing Harry, a main associate of Fisk. Also, D'Onofrio has made a few comments lately that make it seem like season 2 is already being put together. And this is going to be an 18 episode first season. So the fact that they're moving forward already, that's pretty crazy. And we talked the other day about how this is likely to take place during the blip. So it'll be interesting. Oh, and the actress who played Vanessa in the original series, in the Netflix series, Ayelet Zurer, has confirmed that she is not coming back and that the role has been recast. So all these little things popping up. It's like there's no like official announcements on any of this stuff, but all of this is starting to roll out. Kyle says, I want to make a joke about the whole series, but I'm scared and excited. I don't even know how to feel. Daredevil Born Again is going to be 18 episodes, and they're already planning a second season. So it's as close to a network TV series as Marvel's ever gotten outside of, as the MCU, outside of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff that wasn't technically part of the MCU, even though they thought they were. Or they weren't. I guess that still hasn't been officially made one way or the other. For a moment there, we thought we knew when we were finally going to get Marvel's Secret Invasion. Now, originally it was supposed to be spring, April, May, but there's been all these delays happening and all this stuff. Well, a placeholder went up on Disney Plus yesterday, showing the logo and saying that it was coming June 21st of 2023, which would be a summer release. Well, that news hit the internet yesterday. It went all over the place, and perhaps it wasn't supposed to be put up there because as of today, the placeholder is now gone, and any reference to Secret Invasions on the streaming service has vanished. Now, a lot of Marvel properties appear to be going through delays, and while it's possible that they just don't mean, they didn't mean for that to be seen, it also wouldn't be surprised if it gets pushed. Now, Secret Invasion was one of a handful of projects that were expected this year, along with Loki Season 2, What If Season 2, and Echo. But there's this growing uncertainty about how much we'll actually see in 2023. And it's been a long time since we got something from Marvel when you compare it to the way things were. I mean, in 2021 and 2022, it was, rather regular that we were getting these things. And while they've talked about slowing down a bit, the last series we got was She-Hulk Attorney at Law, which ended, was August through the beginning of October, I believe. And then we got, or the end of October, and we got the two specials, the Werewolf by Night special and the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 special. So, that's already been a big chunk of time. So if we're not going to get this until summer, even at, beginning of September, that's still a long wait. So, yeah, it seems like a big chunk of time to me. So, all right. What else we got to talk about today? With the final season of HBO's hit series Succession premiering Sunday, we've now learned that Matthew McFadden looks to have found a follow-up project, as Deadline is reporting that the Emmy winner is the latest addition to Marvel Studios' Deadpool 3. Now, of course, we know Ryan Reynolds returning to star, and Hugh Jackman will be in it as Wolverine. Also, The Crown's Emma Corrin is on board. But at this point, we don't know what McFadden is going to be playing. And when it comes to a Deadpool movie, it could be anything. Though he does kind of remind me of the character of, was it Mime? The shapeshifter that we've seen in the cartoons and stuff. Yeah, he's always had that feel to him. That actor kind of makes me think of that character. So, also just announced a few minutes ago, if you're a Star Trek fan, Paramount Plus is going to renew 2 Star Trek series. Strange New Worlds is getting a 10-episode 3rd season, and Lower Decks will be back with a 10-episode 5th season. Now, it comes as the streamer revealed that new seasons of both those shows will premiere on the service this summer. Seasons 2 of Strange New World will premiere on June 15th. Season 4 of the animated series Lower Decks, it doesn't have a date yet, but it will be later summer or late summer. So now it's interesting. Strange New World, of course, stars Anson Mount. Anson Mount played in Hell on Wheels, was in Inhumans as Black Bolt, and then showed up in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And now he's playing Commander Pike. The interesting thing, though, is that Mount has been popping up online in some of the stuff we're going to talk about later, but also he's kind of, well, I saw one tweet, and I haven't been able to put it into context yet, but he's basically telling James Gunn, don't you have work to do? You should get off of the internet. And it seems really weird that a guy who is part of the Marvel Universe and part of the Star Trek universe is over there telling the guy who's running the DC universe, just stop talking. Get offline. And it's like I said, it's not the only thing he's popped up in, but he'll be part of another story. Mount has been a really interesting person to follow on social media. He's very blunt and very straightforward, but he's also been very nice and very, so these 2 posts seem very out of character from what I've seen of him, because I've been following him for a while. So I just find that interesting. But he's a very interesting Commander Pike, and I'm not sure why he's suddenly deciding to get into people's faces. Just saying. So, all right, moving on. Dungeons and Dragons. Of course, Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves is opening this weekend. And it's getting a lot of great conversation about it. People are talking about it being a fun movie, really good. People who play D&D are saying there's a lot of Easter eggs and things like that. At the same time, people who have never played D&D are saying that they enjoyed the movie, that it was fun. So from that point of view, it sounds like we got a potential hit. And, we'll have to see how it does at the box office. But, it's got to compete with John Wick 4, which is still doing well. But Shazam and Ant-Man, some of the other bigger movies that were expected to do well, haven't been. So will this franchise get a chance to take off? I mean, it's got a good cast. Michelle Rodriguez, Chris Pine, Jean-Rene Page. I mean, is it Justin Smith? I think it is. Hugh Grant. So I think this has potential to start a franchise that they could go in many different directions. And one of the directions that they're talking about going is they're talking about doing a live action adaptation of some of the D&D Dragonlance novels. Now, I don't see which studio. It doesn't seem to be currently attached to a studio or a stream or anything like that. But this comes to us from the D&D 1 website thing. And Joe Manganiello, who, of course, played Flash Thompson in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. He played Deathstroke in the Zack Snyder Justice League. Or was that? No, Batman v Superman. And, of course, he was on True Blood. And everybody knows that he's a huge D&D fan. He has a room in his house dedicated for playing D&D. It's made out to look like a dungeon and big gaming table. And he has a celebrity game that he puts on and hosts. So this guy is a true blue D&D fan. He's involved in this, both on the creative end and acting and everything else. So
Joe Manganiello was on TikTok and made a joke that he was upset that Modern Family had ended because then Sofia Vergara couldn't help him pay for his D&D habit anymore.
Jay is correcting me, saying that it's actually Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, that he was the Flash Thompson, and I stand corrected. Now that he said it, I can picture the scene where he tries to punch Spider-Man or Toby, and Toby ducks underneath it. So yes, my apologies. But yeah, the Dragonlance novels, they were originally being written by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, but then it expanded out, and there's a large series of Dragonlance novels out there. So there's plenty for them to work on. But besides doing that, Manganiello is also filming a documentary, and that's part of, they were filming it as it was, as they were interviewing him for an upcoming 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. So a lot of D&D stuff coming up. So hopefully the movie does well. It'll keep the ball rolling on this. So
Dan,
yes.
Real quick on Dungeons and Dragons. Last weekend was Gary Con, which is the con that's now in Lake Geneva that kind of replaced Gen Con. And anyway, my friend was running games, and two of the people who played in his game this weekend were Vince Vaughn and Tom Morello from the celebrity game that Joe Manganiello runs.
Right.
Joe was rumored to be there. My friend couldn't get a picture, but supposedly he was at Gary Con with a film crew.
That would make sense. So, all right. Ed says, I have my fingers crossed that the new D&D comic based on the 80s cartoon is good. It just has to be good. It has to. We will be talking about that on the next show. So I have read it. And that's a teaser. By the way, we're going to go to commercial break. We'll come back and do more news. Stay tuned.
Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find a link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
Comic Collectibles is here for you every Wednesday with AR Comics for two very important reasons: to sell you rare, one-of-a-kind comics that you'll love, and to confuse AR with old man talk. You see, Rex and John are, how should I put this, ancient as the roots of the mountains. So every week, Rex and John fill in AR in yet another area of pop culture that he missed because he's too young, just didn't have the time, or just really doesn't care about. It's a real public service they provide. Come buy some super rare and unique comics, while old men explain long-dead sci-fi shows to a younger man making that confused puppy face. Every Wednesday from 6 to 8 Eastern with Rex, John, and AR Comics. Comic Collectibles on The Experience. Comic culture and sales.
You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP.
everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Do me a favor, remember to hit those like, subscribe buttons, all those things. The thumbs up are really appreciated. And, tell your friends about the show. Share it with people. All right, let's catch up real quick on the comments. Canada says never played D&D. I didn't start playing until 2018. So I didn't start until late in life, and went from joining a friendly game to suddenly my girlfriend's daughter asked me to teach her how to play. So next thing you know, I'm running a game for her brother, and her mom. And then suddenly I'm running a game for other people. And now, well, it's been a few months since I've played, but I've played quite a bit since then. It gets you pulled in. It's a fun game, and someone described it as really good for if you like ad-libbing and pretending. Actors are great at it. So it makes a lot of sense that actors are getting into this game.
Dan and I have been teasing getting a D&D game on here. But nobody be making any calls. You just got to remind me more.
Yeah. By the way, Candace asks if the link to the Discord server has expired. Okay. Jay answered SSFD by, Joe Manganiello is only 6'5". I am 6'6", so I am taller than him. Okay, let's go ahead and get back to the news. By the way, hello, Kenneth. Every time I see you, I want to ask what the frequency is. That's because I'm old. All right, let's see. We got a bunch more news here. We do. We still have a bunch of.
That saying is making a comeback thanks to Letterkenny, Dan.
What is?
The Canadians are bringing back What's the Frequency, Kenneth?
Oh, good for them. I can't stand Letterkenny, but good for them. All right. This is kind of a fun one. And now we'll try in English. Universal Pictures has acquired a pitch for a revamp of the 1956 horror film, The Mole People. Now, this comes from writer Chris Winterbauer and will be produced by the guys over at Skybound Entertainment, which includes, of course, Robert Kirkman of The Walking Dead. Now, the plot here is a woman travels to a town veiled in conspiracy to rescue her grandchildren from their father. To do this, she must fight through hell in the underground tunnels where the mole people reside. In the 1956 original, archaeologists stumble onto the underground lair of a race of darkness dwellers who can see in low light and have no pigmentation after being out of the light for so long. The high priest who rules the small pocket of mole people is threatened by the newcomers and wants them dead. The 1950s and their movies. One of the things that that popped in my head when I saw this story is I'm wondering if Universal, in kind of a nudge back at Marvel for not having done another Hulk movie, is them going, well, if you're going to use Mole Man, or we're going to put out the Mole People, so you can't use Mole Man in your Fantastic Four movie. All right. Let's see. Oh, we have some good news about Jeremy Renner. Jeremy Renner has been sharing stories. He posted the other day about his snowplow being returned, and also about him running on a treadmill. Now, Renner got his piston bully back, which the police had confiscated after the accident to see if there was any mechanical reasons for the accident. And they do say that mechanical malfunction may have contributed to it. Now, while they didn't say anything conclusive, they think it's a possibility. Now, the interesting thing is they showed a video of the piston bully being returned, and it had police escorts in front and in back. And Renner commented on the video saying it reminded him of the movie The Green Mile, with Joe Coffey or whatever his name was being walked The next day, this is the part that I really liked. Renner shared a video of him running on a treadmill. Now, he was assisted by a device that helps take the weight off. So the fact that he's rebuilding the stamina and muscles in his legs, he was only feeling about 40% of his natural weight at the time. So this device kind of keeps him lifted up and allows him to run. But he was running well. So there was a lot of speculation when the accident happened that he might lose the leg or never be able to walk again. So it does my heart good to hear that he's, up on the treadmill and stuff like that. So, all right, now we get into some of the news that I always liken to this way. When I grew up, I read the soapbox section of Marvel Comics and the letter pages, and it always felt like they were one big happy family, and I loved that. And I met Jack Kirby when I was 11 years old, and I meeting him, and I want to be in this industry, and you didn't see how the sausage was made. Well, these are the kind of stories like that, the sausage being made, or the behind the scenes stuff you don't want to talk about. And we're going to start with Zachary Levi, who appears to be having some kind of moment. Now, he's going off about Shazam and is basically blaming everybody else possible for why the movie didn't do well. He first confirmed a story that had Dwayne Johnson preventing the film from using any of the Justice Society characters in the end credit scene of Shazam, Shazam Fury of the Gods. Now, I'm not sure exactly how he would prevent it, but from what I understand, it happened. And of course, the film was made quite a while, originally it was supposed to be a December release. So it was made when Black Adam was being filmed, probably at the same time. So somehow he was able to keep, Pierce Brosnan or, Atom Smasher, Dr. Fate, Hawkman, any of those characters from showing up. And that's why we ended up with characters from James Gunn's Peacemaker. But so I don't think the fact that they weren't in the closing, Justice Society wasn't in the closing credits, is the reason the film isn't doing well. He's also blaming Zack Snyder's fans and the toxic nature of DC fandom for it. And then for some reason, because he was venting, he decided to go off on Kevin Feige, saying that he was misled about how big the role of Fandral would be in Thor: The Dark World. So yeah, he's just kind of going off on anybody. And then he put up a video basically saying that people should forget about John Wick 4 and go see Shazam instead. And this is the thing that Anson Mount responded to. And here Anson Mount just posted a picture of him as Black Bolt going like this. And I think Zachary Levi probably should. He's kind of going off the deep end. So he's having a moment and he's doing it very publicly. Zack Snyder came out and in a recent interview, and he didn't really say anything groundbreaking, but he did confirm that, he was promoting the Full Circle event, which is being able, you go to a theater, there's a theater he's going to be showing Man of Steel, Superman versus Batman, or Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice, and his version of Justice League, the long one, in for charity. And you know what, that actually sounds kind of fun to me. If it was a local thing and I could do it for the day, I think I would do it, just because it would be neat to see all those on the big screen. But when it came to the whole idea of DC selling the Snyderverse stuff to Netflix or whatever, he basically said that he knows nothing about that. He has no control over it. And it was basically above his pay grade. Now, he did say that Warner Brothers Discovery has been very supportive of the Full Circle event. And there's a charity aspect of it to that. But that is only interaction with that is his only interaction with the studio, and he has no idea what they're doing creatively or what they're planning, claiming his focus has been solely on the upcoming Rebel Moon film. Now, Snyder also made it clear that James Gunn is his friend, and he's even previously said, I'm just wishing them all the best and hoping they make some cool movies. Any perceived bad blood between the two men is completely a creation of the fans. So that's another one of those behind the scenes stuff. It's like, can we just move past that? Here's the news I want. Zack Snyder stayed home and said nothing at all for the first time ever. What I would like is Zack Snyder to come out and go, I am done with the DC universe. They're going one direction. I have my own stuff to do. Please stop attacking them. I appreciate your support, but it's time we all move on.
In my opinion, that's basically the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, that, well, see, not saying anything leaves the fans to keep doing it. I think if he would actually make that statement, it would help a lot. So, all right, we're going to move on and cover the previous Friday. We had heard that Victoria Alonso had left Marvel, and we didn't really know what was going on. And there was speculation. I think Kyle and I speculated that there was some family emergency, something. Turns out, no, it was none of that. It actually, what it was is she was fired. She was fired, and it was done in such a way that they weren't prepared for it. They didn't have a prepared statement. They didn't have a replacement in mind. And, well, let me give you the rundown of what happened. Now, of course, Alonso was the president of physical and post-production, VFX, and animation. And a lot of people right now are trying to make it seem like she was let go because of all the negativity currently out there about the visual effects stuff and how Marvel is mistreating them and the deadlines and all. That doesn't seem to be the case. So what we learned is, and I'm going to do this from both sides, according to Disney, Alonso was fired for a breach of contract. She had decided to produce a film called Argentina 1985 for Amazon Studios without asking permission, which was something specifically forbade in her contract. She has a contract that says she can't work for other studios. Now, when this was discovered, and was bound to be discovered, Disney, out of respect for her years of service, reworked her contract to allow it, with the stipulation that she did not promote the film. The idea being, the president of one of the presidents of Marvel Studios is out there promoting a movie. It's does it have Disney? It doesn't have Marvel's blessing, and they don't have that. It's a political film, so they said you can finish producing it, but you cannot promote the film. And then she went on and promoted it anyway. So the decision to fire her was made by Disney executives and their legal department. Kevin Feige was not involved. He actually, word is that it says that he felt like he was between a rock and a hard place, and but it wasn't, that's not a statement from him. That's insiders. Now, since this happened, Alonso has retained a lawyer. Now, this happens to be the same lawyer who is currently going up against Lucasfilms for the executive producer that was involved with The Acolyte, who was fired. So this seems to be her niche. This lawyer's niche is going up against Disney in different incarnations. Now, she put out a statement. The idea that Victoria was fired over a handful of press interviews relating to a personal passion project about human rights and democracy that was nominated for an Oscar and which she got Disney's blessing to work on is absolutely ridiculous. Victoria, a gay Latina who had the courage to criticize Disney, was silenced. Then she was terminated when she refused to do something she believed was reprehensible. Disney and Marvel made a really poor decision that will have serious consequences. There is a lot more to this story, and Victoria will be telling it shortly in one form or another. Now, serious consequences to a company as big as Disney seems a stretch. But now, Disney responded right away, stating, "It's unfortunate that Victoria is sharing a narrative that leaves out several key factors concerning her departure, including an indisputable breach of contract and a direct violation of company policy. We will continue to wish her the best for the future and thank her for her numerous contributions to the studio." Now, part of some of what may be at play here, at least from Alonso's side, believing that there's other reasons she was fired, may stem from the fact that Alonso is an outspoken champion of diversity at Disney. She called out the then Disney CEO Bob Chapek to take a stand against Florida's anti-LGBTQ law, the Don't Say Gay bill. And when she was speaking to a glad audience, she said, "I ask you again, Mr. Chapek, please respect, if we're selling family, take a stand against all of this crazy, outdated laws. Take a stand for family. Stop saying that you tolerate us. We deserve the right to live, love, and have. More importantly, we deserve an origin story." So that was her statement then, and it riled some people at Disney. But whether that played into the departure is unknown. Disney is clearly saying it doesn't. She may be making that her side of it. We will have to see. Kyle says, "I would love to know the terms of her non-compete agreement. This is so fascinating to me." All right, we're going to do one more story. And yeah, we're kind of close. This was a lot of news today, but we're going to get through this one. Now, if you don't know, Jonathan Majors, the actor who plays Kang the Conqueror in the MCU and was in Creed 3 recently, he was arrested Saturday night after an altercation with a female friend who was then sent to the hospital. Now, the police released a statement saying, "A preliminary investigation determined that a 33-year-old male was involved in a domestic dispute with a 30-year-old female. The victim informed police she was assaulted. Officers placed the 33-year-old male into custody without incident. The victim sustained minor injuries to her head and neck and was removed to an area hospital in stable condition." Majors was removed from the residence by the police. He was arraigned in front of a judge a few hours later. Prosecutors sought supervised release and a full order of protection, but the judge granted a limited order of protection, and Majors was released in the early AM, I believe on his own recognizance. Now, the actor is expected to be back in court on May 8th. His lawyer, Priya Chaudhry, released a statement on Sunday. Said Jonathan Majors is completely innocent and is provable the victim of an altercation with a woman he knows. We are quickly gathering and presenting evidence to the district attorney with the expectation that all charges will be dropped imminently. Evidence includes video footage from the vehicle where this episode took place, witness testimony from the driver and others who both saw and heard the episode, and more importantly, 2 written statements from the woman recanting these allegations. All the evidence proves that Mr. Majors is entirely innocent and did not assault her whatsoever. Unfortunately, this incident came about because the woman was having an emotional crisis for which she was taken to the hospital yesterday. The NYPD is required to make an arrest in these situations, and this is the only reason Mr. Majors was arrested. We expect these charges to be dropped soon. Now, that is everything that's out there. That's everything that's known. This, of course, has led to a bunch of gossip, a bunch of speculation. A couple people have come out immediately jumping on board this and saying that This is repeated behavior by majors that, but it's, no one has come out and said, oh, at least as of right now, he did this to me as well. What's happening is some people in the industry are coming out and saying, this happened, that happened, but none of it directly to them. It's like third-party things. So at this point, I think we need to wait and see what actually comes forth. If Majors is able to prove that he did not assault her, or that maybe he was assaulted first, we will have to see. But again, you got to take this and let it play out. The rush to judgment that's happened before, like with Johnny Depp, is not a good thing for anybody involved. So, all right, let's do one more commercial break. We'll come back and we'll do some key collectibles real quick. Back in a minute.
What if Hans Gruber from Die Hard had to battle the Joker from Batman the Animated Series in a dance battle? Or who would win in a race between Baby from Baby Driver and Snidely Whiplash? If Austin Powers and Shrek found themselves in a hot dog eating contest, who would emerge victorious? These are the questions we talk about on Nerd Killer Warfare. Debate the most absurd questions you've ever heard in popular culture. Register now by scanning the QR code or visiting bit.ly/EXP casting. Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
Everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show, and it's time to do our key collectibles. Now, we've already done a rewatch of Hawkeye, so before we started doing these, but since we had the good news about Jeremy Renner and we'd already done the show, I figured today was a good day to do the Hawkeye key collectibles. So, and Kyle has made this snazzy new setup for us, instead of it just being put over my face. So let's go ahead, and we got 11 books, which you might want to pick up. Just saying. So we're going to kick it off with Tales of Suspense, number 56. This, of course, is the first appearance of Hawkeye. Now, high end on this is about $380. You're still going to pay about over $1,000 for a mid-range copy, and $3,800 for a high end. The new format's already threw me up. Over $1,000 for a mid and about $380 for a low end. All right, let's go on to the next one. This is Avengers number 16. This is, of course, when they get the new team Hawkeye joins the Avengers along with Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. High end on this one, I'm surprised is only $500. I thought it would be higher. Mid range is about $90, and that's a pretty good price. You could pick one up for $90, and I think it's a good deal.
In real recent history, Dan, I bought a 9.8 of this for less than $400. So this is a book that's on the rise, which I think is why that high number is still so low. It's people still aren't quite there yet.
Yeah, and of course, the low end $30 for a Thrasher reader copy. All right, next we have now. This is Avengers 19. This is the first appearance of the Swordsman, who we get to meet in the Hawkeye series. He is the guy who trained Hawkeye. And of course, he's tied into the Mantis story, the Celestial Goddess story. He's kind of an interesting character, starting as a villain, then as a hero, died an Avenger. His first appearance, you can pick it up for about $240 on the high end, about $85 for a decent copy, and about $25 for a reader copy. After that, we have, now I threw this one in here because we were talking about Goliath in the, Bill Foster, Lawrence Fishburne, but Hawkeye also took the name Goliath for a while, and this started in Avengers number 63, and I love that cover. That's a really cool looking cover. I love the way it's all mixed in there. But the high end on this is only $65, and you can pick up a middle copy for about $15 with even a low end reader copy for about $5. So this would be a good pickup, and with Goliath coming to make, start shooting up. Now this here is Hawkeye number 1. It was Hawkeye's first miniseries, and it's the Mockingbird didn't start here, but this is where they first meet, and this is an important series for Hawkeye's what we see of him today. Now, high end's about $15 on this. You can pick one of these up easily. Mid's about $5. You might even get one from a dollar bin if you're looking around. This, on the other hand, is a big thing because this is when Hawkeye and Mockingbird get married. Hawkeye number 4 here. And it's where Hawkeye ends up deaf. And we know that that's played a big part in his character in the MCU, too. And this one, high end, you're only spending about $3 for this. This, I would recommend this whole series if you could pick it up because of the character Hawkeye, and I think this will go up. So, all right, after that, we have the New Avengers. This is another important one to the series because this is where Hawkeye first appeared as Ronin. Now, this is him as second Ronin. So previously, of course, Echo was the first Ronin, and the New Avengers number 27. High end here is only $10, with mid range about $2. So you should be able to find one of these pretty easily.
When that movie got announced, this book shot up to $50, $60, $70.
Yeah,
and then when he wasn't Ronin for more of the show,
it dropped.
It came way back down real fast. I know people were sitting on hundreds of copies of this book, just trying to get $5 out of them.
Too funny. So, all right. Young Avengers number 1. This, of course, is the first appearance of Kate Bishop, who is probably going to be Hawkeye going forward. This, you're going to pay about $120 for this in really good condition. Probably get it for about $40 in the middle and $12 for a reader copy. This is a really important series, not only for Kate Bishop, but a lot of these characters are going to become the hallmark of the MCU going forward. This is a big investment one here. You got Patriot, you got Hulkling, you got Wiccan, you got the guy in the Iron Man costume. That's Kid Kang, or whatever he's calling himself there. Iron Lad is the name of here, but that's a Kang variant. So this is another one good to pick up. All right, what else we got? Young Avengers, for instance, number 6. Now, this is the first time that Clint and Kate Bishop meet, which, of course, it becomes a big thing going forward. And it's also where he kind of gives her the go-ahead of using the name Hawkeye. She'd been using it, but not, kind of unofficially, because I believe he was considered dead at the time. This high end, you're looking at about $30 for this. And this is number 6 of the Young Avengers Presents series. Its mid-range is about 9 and low is about 3. So it's another good one to pick up. This, of course, is the Matt Fraction, David Aja Hawkeye series, the first issue. Not only is this the first issue of the series, but it's the first introduction to the Tracksuit Mafia and Lucky the Pizza Dog, both of which play big parts of the series. And this came out in 2012. You messed the slide up. Okay. High end here is only about $35. Mid range is about $9. Low end is $3. And I think the reason that this one may have stayed at the lower end is because they put out trades for this pretty quickly, knowing how important it was, or it was getting such a good response. So that kept the price of it down from a collector standpoint because it takes all the readers out of it. So.
It was also part of a time when Marvel was matching orders for a lot of retailers. If you were ordering over a certain number, Marvel was essentially doubling your order.
Okay.
So there's a lot more of these available than, say, some of the earlier issues.
Yeah. So check your local comic shops. You might be able to get one for $9, $10 and stock that away. All right. And this, of course, is Kate Bishop's first solo series from 2017, Hawkeye #1 as well. That's weird to have 3 Hawkeye #1s on our list today, but this was the high end is about $20, mid's about $8, lows, $2. So you should be able to pick this one up pretty cheap too. It's a good Kelly Thompson series. So is that our last book?
Yep.
That's our last book, and it's time to wrap up the show. But don't go anywhere. The magic voice that keeps talking, he's going to be joining me, and we're going to talk about comics right after this. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is